Hi, this is Max Rodersman from Does It Matter and Why? And today we're joined by Craig Kelly, who's in Georgia. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Max. How you doing?
So what's the latest with poll watching?
Well, it seems to be grinding on, and grinding's a good word, Max. The poll numbers at this particular place were in the mid 600s on Monday and the mid 400s on Tuesday, and today I'm expecting the mid 300s. This is a new poll place. They don't usually have it, and it just opened on Monday. Some of the other poll places are having much longer lines and are much more active. And overall, polling, early advance voting is hitting record numbers. But where I am is kind of sleepy.
That's a good. Why do you think that there are increased numbers? Do you think it's because
one of the things my friend told me, the fellow I'm staying with, who's an African American man that I met at grad school, he says his mom was denied the franchise at times, and his grandmother as well. He grew up in Arkansas, and so when I told him that, just kind of looking at the numbers, I see him and looking at who's registered to vote and whatnot in this county, it seems disproportionately African American. He said, yeah, it's going to be because African Americans know they need to vote early because they have this history of being told no. Something's wrong. Go back and fix it. Now, I'm not really seeing that. It is more impactful when I do see it to African Americans than to white voters, but I'm not seeing it in any number. And the reasons are all reasons that I think most of us would consider valid. Someone doesn't have an ID card, they're in the wrong county, they weren't registered, that sort of thing. So it's not malicious, but nonetheless, it is impactful. Certainly to those very few voters that wind up walking away from the polls that day.
Right. And what's the woman's name again who's running for governor there?
Stacey Abrams.
And then what's the Republican?
I think it's Brian Kemp. K-E-M-P.
Brian Kemp. Well, he's been around for a while, right?
You're asking the wrong guy. I know he has been around for some amount of years, but I couldn't tell you what his political history is.
There must be some other Kemp that I'm confusing him with, because as you know, I don't follow this stuff.
Okay.
Oh, we've reached the point of mutual ignorance.
Well, I'm not sure ignorance is the right word. You can't be expected to know everything. But talking about know everything, do you get a chance to look at the data files I sent you?
Yes, I did, but wasn't really much I could make out of them. What did you take from them?
There's two things that I think it's important to remember when you're Craig Kelly and Max Rodersman. And we live in Cambridge, and the place where both of us vote is not even a quarter mile from where we live. We can easily walk there, and we can expect not to wait in line, and we can expect to be home 10 minutes, 15 minutes after we left. Here in Georgia, the state is just way bigger than Cambridge. And the voting is done by counties. So in Massachusetts, the voting's done by towns. Each 351 towns has its own election commission, and they do whatever it is they do to make sure the voting happens as per state and federal law. Here we have counties, and the counties are huge. So Cobb County, where I am, has 570,000, I think, give or take, active voters. That's 5 times the number of people that live in Cambridge. And that's just the active voters in this county. Geographically, it's massive. So I have been here at the county fairgrounds for a couple of days. I have been at senior centers. I have been all over the place in Cobb County, and every place is very different. And when election day comes, we're going to have, I think it's 147, I said 112 or so yesterday, something like 147 precincts where people are going to vote. So that's maybe 12, 13 times, 14 times the number of stations that are open now. And each one of those places has to be set up, and I said this yesterday, in its own individual way. If we went over to Fulton County, which is Atlanta's place, It's going to have the same ballot marking devices and so forth, but they might have somewhat different rules about how to present IDs or how to cure a ballot and whatnot. And it's absolutely important for us to understand that we don't know what their rules are, and their rules are going to be different from our rules, and that we don't always have the right way of doing things, or at least the only way of doing things, the only right way of doing things. And the important thing is, as I'm seeing here, that the people who are in charge make it fair. At least fair on the ground, as fair as they can make it. And that's what I'm seeing the poll workers do here. In both counties I've worked, they really seem professional. They know what they're doing, and they're working on having every person who can vote, to include casting provisionals. And then when the time comes, I'll be at the absentee ballot counting station. The point will be to make sure that every vote that's cast gets counted.
So just to clarify, are you saying that there's difference in procedures between
Yes.
the counties of
Yes.
Georgia, not between that? Okay.
Exactly. And they're not meaningful differences. It's not like someone says your voting age in one county is 60 and your voting age in another county is 97. It's here in Cobb County, they're doing a test program of signing. Georgia's got this thing called an in-person absentee ballot affidavit or something like that, which is basically something you sign when you check in that says, I am who I am, I swear it, under penalty of whatever the penalties are. And the poll workers have people sign that stuff. In Fulton County, as you wait in line to vote, someone's going to give you a clipboard with a piece of paper on it, and you sign that, and that is the affidavit that says you're who you are. Even though they call it an in-person absentee, which is a weird word or a weird term. In Cobb County, they're doing that on the poll pads, which are essentially what look like iPods. And so people sign it with a stylus. And that's a different thing. They're both accomplishing the same act, which is people are verifying who it is that they are and that they can vote. But they're doing it differently. And that means the setup's somewhat different. So in Fulton County, when you walk into a polling booth, you'll see people in line with clipboards and pens, literally pens, signing this paper, and then they take that piece of paper and they go to the poll pad and they give the person the piece of paper and some sort of photo ID. They have to have a photo ID here, a government ID to vote, and then they get the little card that helps them go, or allows them to go to the ballot marking device. Here in Cobb County, the signing of the form and the getting of the little electronic keypad that allows you to vote, that happens at the poll, at the what they call the pad. So it's a different thing. It accomplishes the same thing, but it looks different. Also, here in Cobb County, people can come in with absentee ballots or mail-in ballots and give them to the poll manager. In Fulton County, you have to drop those things off at a drop box. So not every place in Cobb County has a drop box. I think there are 4 of them. So folks can drop them off at a drop box if they want, but they can also just hand them, as long as you're a close relative and whatnot to the person who voted, you can hand someone else in too. People hand these these mail-in ballots to the poll manager, who then collects them and logs them in at the end of the day, and then they get sent off. In Fulton County, my belief is that the machines stay full until they have to be empty. Sometimes the memory card fills up, sometimes the ballot machines fill up, whatever. In Cobb County, it seems that every night, all of the ballots, not the memory cards, but the ballots are pulled out, sealed, and then sent to some central place for storage and, if necessary, for recounts down the line. That information's already been gathered on the memory cards. And memory cards are all synced to one machine, so everything is really marked, but the counties do it very differently. The end result is ultimately the same, but if you went to one county and said, hey, you know, what should I do here? You might get a different answer in Cobb than you would in Fulton or DePaul or these other counties that I haven't mentioned. They have also different methods of doing the same thing.
Okay. Well, let's leave it here for today, and let's pick up on this tomorrow.
Okay.
And thanks for the update.
My pleasure, Max. Talk to you soon.